Hi, so today I want to talk about some of my views in terms of keeping devices working as long as possible, Apple devices, and the whole idea that there is a lack of sustainable culture with their devices, where they're difficult to repair, and this contributes to the fact that, that we're throwing more stuff away than we should. I want to give a little bit of my opinion on this because I've talked about it a lot, but I've never really consolidated my opinion into one specific place. So one of the first thing that bothers me on this, it actually reminds me of that Jack Nicholson movie from the early 90s, A Few Good Men. A lot of people will complain about the design of Apple products, how they're difficult to repair, the fact that you have a flex cable soldered on when it could have been clipped on, the fact that you have the battery inside the device instead of outside the device. They'll complain about the design decisions that Apple made, while simultaneously these same people will proclaim their love for Apple devices. They'll say, I use Apple devices over others because I love the design. I love the seamless design. I love the ease of use. I love the way that it works, it feels in my hand, and how it's put together. And so you're pretty much saying that you don't like how Apple designs the device, but you like the design of the device, and that's why you bought it. Because some of these decisions, like soldering a flex cable to a board instead of having a connector, may save you, whatever, 1/4 of a millimeter, and those 1/4 of a millimeters all the way through add up into creating that very super thin device that you like. You may not like the fact that they have the battery inside the device, but again, in 2005, 2006, you want 30 to 40 hours on one charge from an MP3 player, you're going to have to deal with the design compromises that Apple chose to make. So you're buying the device because of the design that Apple created, but you're simultaneously bitching about it. And it reminds me of that quote that Jack Nicholson had. It was something like, I might as well Google it because hell if I'm going to remember it, I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very freedom that I provide, and then questions the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just say thank you and went on your way. And that's probably how Apple feels, and if I were Apple, that's kind of how I'd feel. So you are buying these products, you are keeping us in business, so you are putting the $50 to $150 billion in our bank account off of our design. You're buying these products because of our design. You're saying that you will pay a premium for them because of how we put them together, but then you bitch about the choices that we made in the assembly of these products. And that's got to be frustrating. There are a lot of things that I don't like about Apple products, and I've talked about them in other videos, but there are also a lot of benefits of Apple products. There are also a lot of things that make Apple products better than others, and a lot of this has to do with how they're designed. And as much as I, as a repair technician, again, I like to think of myself as a pragmatic person, so as a repair technician, there are many, many times at which I have just wanted to take the soldering iron and just put it through the eye of the people who made the design decisions for these Apple products in terms of how to fix them, in terms of how annoying they are sometimes. But as a user, when I look at the slimness of them, when I look at how seamlessly they work with one another, when I look at the battery life of a lot of these products, when I look at just the general aesthetics of them and how they're made to work together, I can appreciate that. Even though I am not a fan of the products, even though I don't use a lot of their products, I can appreciate a lot of the positive and good design decisions that were made, and I understand that in order to make those design decisions, in order to achieve those goals, that there was compromise that had to be recognized along the way. And, if you want these products, if you want to continue buying them, then you're not allowed to say, no, I don't like the design of them because it makes it not sustainable. You chose to buy it. Now, what you could do if you want this to change is you could stop buying them. In 2004, I had a Rio Karma MP3 player because I valued something that worked well into 16-ohm headphones. So at the time, now I'm going to start showing my age, the iPod 3rd generation, you plug 16-ohm headphones and there's no bass. And, I valued something about the design decision of the Rio product, so I bought a product that had another set of design issues where, the wheel is falling off, the crappy little Hitachi drive they use would die every 6 months, so I had to wind up modding it with some kind of ZIF thing for an SD card to work in it. It was a whole complete utter mess, but I didn't like what one product had to offer. So instead of just buying it and then complaining about the manner in which they provided me the product, I decided to actually buy something else. So there are things I don't like about Apple laptops. So what I have here is a Lenovo laptop because I didn't like what was offered with the Apple laptop. There are things that I don't like about the iPhone. So instead of buying an iPhone and then repeatedly complaining about the design of the iPhone, I decided, well, I didn't really decide, I kind of had it given to me, but you get the point, I have an S5 phone. So what kills me here is that a lot of the people who are complaining about the design of these products are actually the people buying them. So if you want to change these products, one of the things I highly suggest you do is you vote with your wallet and you stop buying them. I assure you, you will be able to live for 6 months to a year if you use, a Samsung or an HTC instead of your iPhone. I guarantee if you use a tablet but the iPad, nobody in your family is going to die earlier as a result of it. If you use a ThinkPad or a Samsung laptop instead of a MacBook, again, I don't think you're going to lose your job. I don't think your girlfriend's going to dump you. I don't think you have to worry about these things. It's not that hard. It's just having principles. So if you don't like their design because it makes it less sustainable, stop buying the product and then actually saying, I bought it because of the design. Because what the message you're sending when you say these things is that you're allowed to make your products as unsustainable as they want. Even though my principles tell me I want a sustainable product, your design is so good that I'm going to abandon my principles in order to buy your products. So what you're telling them is as long as they make it sleek and nice and sexy and, with long battery life and all that stuff, that they can just pretty much screw you in the ass in terms of serviceability, in terms of sustainability long term, and you'll deal with it. And that's not really the message that you want to be sending if you want change to occur. The other thing I want to talk about here is in terms of the iPad. So I don't remember where I heard this exactly, but it was something like if you want to get the iPad into the hands of all these kids in all these third world countries, you're going to have to think about them breaking, because kids will break iPads. Kids break things that are made of glass. And, my counter to this is, if you're in a third world country, so if you're someplace where most families do not have a tablet computer, my argument would be, why are you looking at the iPad? Again, you may like the aesthetic decisions about the iPad. You may like the touchscreen, the way it works. You may like the operating system and the way it syncs with all your devices and the interface better than, let's say, a Nexus. But a Nexus is, $150, $170. iPad's like $300 to $600. So if I'm in a country where I have to think about, how am I going to make the money that I need so that I can feed my family tonight, I'm probably not going to buy an iPad. I'm probably going to buy a Nexus. I'm probably going to buy something else. Or if there were some kind of grant given to bring this technology to these parts of the world that does not have this technology, so that every kid can have a tablet. Again, even if you do have a grant, how about you put that money towards a cheaper tablet that is more sustainable instead of even looking at the iPad? Because again, the iPad was not designed for kids in third world countries. I'm not trying to be offensive here. It was not. It was designed for people in first world countries with lots of disposable income. It was designed for people that are actually willing to pay a premium for the product. Trying to get the iPad into the hands of every kid in a third world country, you are using the wrong, this is the wrong product. You're trying to sell Mitt Romney to liberals. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You should be looking for a different product. Why are you even debating the durability of this product or the repairability of this product so that it can be used by children in third world countries when that is just so far away from the target demographic? The third thing that I want to discuss here is the entire idea of long-term sustainability of a lot of these products. And what gets to me is just the fundamental lack of understanding that a lot of people have about what goes into manufacturing these products and why they are not long-term sustainable at all. So let's just talk a little bit about chipset manufacturing. So with companies like Intel, AMD, they make fabrication plans to create a certain processor. So they'll actually create the plan pretty much from the ground up to create this one line of processors. Now, once that processor is no longer used, that fabrication plant is pretty much, it has to be torn down and rebuilt back up to create the new set of processors. So the way this works is they look at how much money is it going to take to create this fabrication plant? How much money do we expect to make off of the sale of these processors? And then it has to make some kind of sense. They have to know that they're going to make more money off of the sale of that processor than they are off of creating that processor. Now, you also have to understand that technology goes down in cost over time. So, an octo-core 3 gigahertz Haswell processor that may be worth $1,000 now, a couple of years from now, the processor is going to be worth, 30 or $50 on eBay. That's the way technology works. So while it is very, very sensible financially for Intel to fabricate and create that processor right now, it makes absolutely no business sense for them to be still fabricating that processor 10 years from now, because it costs a lot of money to run these fabrication plants. And again, the worth of a processor has nothing to do with with the actual components inside of it. It has to do with what consumers are willing to pay for the technology. And 10 years from now, nobody is going to be willing to pay $1,000 for a 8-core Haswell processor. So let's say you have a laptop that came out in 2006. Now, a lot of these chipsets die given 3 to 5 years in extreme heat conditions. So X1600 graphics chips, NVIDIA 8600 graphics chips, NVIDIA 9600 graphics chips. Even the 750 GT that's in a Retina right now, you know, these graphics chips are good, but if you use them under extreme heat conditions, like, let's say, a thin, poorly ventilated laptop, give it 3, 4, 5, 6 years under intensive usage every day, and it's going to die. Now, finding spare parts. These are not going to be manufactured. And it's not because NVIDIA and AMD and Intel are being mean. It's not because they're purposely trying to fuck you. It's because it doesn't make financial sense. Again, if they can make, let's just come up with some fake figures here. Let's say it costs $1 million to build a fabrication plant, and they can make $10 million a year off of creating those processors. They're going to run that fabrication plant. Now, that cost of $1 million a year is going to be static over time. So let's say 2 years from now, it still costs them $1 million a year to run that fabrication plant, but let's say they can only make $500,000 a year off of it because the processors that they're making are now obsolete. It doesn't make sense. They're not going to keep that fabrication plant open. They're not going to keep making obsolete processors. Again, it's a static cost to create this stuff, but what you can sell it for is totally based on what consumers are willing to pay for it. It doesn't make any sense for them to continue making processors from 2006, graphics chips from 2006, just so that you can continue fixing a product. It's just not something that's going to happen. So even if you do want to continue fixing these products long term, you're not going to be able to. You know, a Neve console from 1976, like the 8088, you can still buy, you can still find switches to these. You can still buy a resistor. There's nothing special about, you know, a 100 ohm resistor. There's nothing special about a Schottky diode. There's nothing special about, you know, certain types of transistors. But there is something special about this graphics chips. You cannot go to Radio Shack and buy, you know, an X1600 graphics chip or have them make one for you the same way you can have Vishay or Dell or Panasonic create a resistor for you. That's why a studio console that's almost 40 years old can be seen as worth fixing, whereas a laptop from even 3 or 4 years ago can be seen as not worth fixing. And, you know, one of the things that kills me about this whole idea of sustainable devices, the sustainable culture, the fix everything movement, is that a lot of these devices, they're not supposed to be fixed because you cannot find the parts of them anymore. So what you're forced to do is you're forced to come up with bullshit ways to jerry-rig them back together. Now, again, like I've said in the reballing video, you can get a graphics chip to work again by reballing it, but it's not going to last a really long time. And then once the consumer gets that repair, once somebody buys a refurbished laptop that had that repair done to it, it's going to die much sooner. And what that does is that it decreases consumer confidence in recycled or refurbished or repaired goods. And that's not good for sustainability in general. That's not good for sustainability of devices that are actually meant to be worked on and repaired over a long period of time, or devices where you're really not going to get more of a 3 to 7 year lifespan out of it. Again, I'm not saying that all devices are meant to die. I'm not saying all of this crap is meant to die. There are a lot of people out there that still have a 2006, 2007 MacBook Pro, and it works. And, you know, if you're that lucky, then, you know, God bless you. But at the same time, you need to realize that there really is no fixing a machine with an X1600 based graphics chip. There is not. Again, if you show me somebody who claims they're selling original stock of those chips, I'll show you somebody who's full of shit. They're going to be in the same room, in the same location, taking up the same space. They're not meant to be repaired. You know, there are a lot of other things like the 2008 MacBook Pro with the frame that comes unglued. You know, you're never going to get that cracked old shitty ass frame to sit the same way it did from the factory. You cannot buy that frame anymore. It doesn't make sense for Apple to continue creating a frame to a product that does not have a resale value of more than $500 or $600. You come to me with a 2008 MacBook Pro that still works, and I cannot put that device in my window for more than $500. Apple was originally selling that machine for what, $2,500? It made sense for them to manufacture those pieces when they were going into a product that they were printing money off of. It doesn't make sense to manufacture that when they're not going to print money off. It's economics. Again, you want these companies to stay in business. You know, Intel and AMD and Nvidia, they all make good amounts of money. Don't get it twisted. They make good money off of these products. But if you ask them to continue manufacturing chips, to continue running fabrication plants for decades after these products have been released, they're not going to make a lot of money anymore. It's going to be terrible. And that money that would have went into research and development, into developing cooler and more competitive new products, is going to be stuck in keeping these old aging pieces of shit alive. And that, again, that doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen unless you legislate it. And if you try to legislate something like that, watch how slow progress occurs at. Watch the slow speed progress occurs when all that money is stuck in fabricating chips that they cannot make money off of instead of fabricating new ones. Again, running fabrication plants for these types of chipsets, it's not cheap. It's not easy to do. That's why there's so few companies competing in that space. That's why, you know, Intel is owning the consumer desktop market right now. They had one main competitor for decades, and that main competitor got their ass handed to them, and nobody has stepped up since. With good reason. It's hard. It's not something you're going to do if you don't have hundreds of billions of dollars in the bank. If you think a device is not sustainable and you value sustainable devices, you value repairable devices, stop buying it. Send a message with your wallet. Have some principles. Again, if you are going to actually keep buying a product where they solder the RAM in, if you're going to keep buying a product where they screw the battery in using proprietary screws in the bottom case, if you're going to buy a product where they glue the glass to the lid and just make it a complete clusterfuck to fix, you know, they're going to keep doing it. As long as they can keep printing money hand over fist, creating products like this, the company is still going to continue doing it. And the reason they're getting away with it is because the design is that good. And one of the things that you should think about here are some of the design compromises they're making there just to continue making the device to the level, to the caliber where you will continue to buy it for the design. You're complaining about the design while simultaneously praising the product for the design. You can't say, well, couldn't you have done this here? Couldn't you have done that there? Couldn't you have done this, that, and the other there? But then say, well, I'm buying this because the design of it is just too good. But you have to think about, again, you have to think about when they decide to put the battery inside the device, when they decide to use this type of flex cable versus that type of flex cable. Are they doing that to get at a specific time, a specific thinness, a specific specification, a specific speed, a specific miles, whatever it is that they're trying to achieve? Are they achieving something by the compromises that you're complaining about? You can't complain about a compromise while simultaneously benefiting from it and choosing the device because of that set of compromises. It's just so fundamentally hypocritical. Again, like what Jack Nicholson said, you are complaining about the freedom that I provide while simultaneously sleeping under it. Now, you know, that's frustrating. Again, I'm not saying that Jack Nicholson is right in the movie. I'm not saying that you should murder innocent people. I'm just trying to get a basic point across here. Secondly, certain products are simply not meant to be in certain situations. Again, like when you talk about the iPad in the hands of third world children, I'm not insulting third world children. All I'm saying is they have issues that are real issues that are very, very much so more important than the choice of tablet that you have. Again, that is not the device that is made for them. That is not the device. They're not the target demographic of this device. If you say, I want to see an iPad in the world of every third, I want to see an iPad in the hands of every third world child, I say, you know, again, I'd rather see a Nexus 7 in the hands of every third world child, but he has food on the table every day. You know, if you have money to give an iPad to every kid in the third world, you have money to then feed every kid in the third world and give them a Nexus 7. You have money to get them faster internet connections. You have money to, you know, upgrade their irrigation system so they have clean water. You have money to make sure that every one of them has transportation, public transportation, cars, whatever it is. Again, the iPad, overall, it is a luxury tablet device. I'm not saying go out to Walmart and buy them all $50 pieces of crap. What I'm saying is you want to get technology to all of these people. Why do we have to start with a Mercedes? I mean, you want to get a car in the hands of every person in this country. Why do you have to give them all a Mercedes or a BMW? Like, would it kill them to have a Jetta or a Honda? I'm not trying to be insulting here. It's just you are saying these devices should be fixable if they're going to be in the hands of every kid in a third world country. then how about just looking at the other devices? How about looking at a device where replacing the screen is, you peel the back off, you take off 4 screws, and oh, it's done. That's something to think about. Thirdly is, again, whether these devices should even be fixed over time. Again, a lot of these devices have very basic problems, and again, I am a very vocal complainer about what Apple will charge $750 or $1,200 or say you just can't fix this anymore for. Again, for something as basic as a backlight fuse, it's $1,000 or $750. Or with older models, they'll even say it's vintage, we can't fix it, when the component that's blown is not only 17 cents, but is simple enough that, again, a receptionist can diagnose that that's the problem. I am all for a sustainable culture. I'm all for using devices as long as you can, as long as they are fixable, as long as they are reasonably fixable. Again, a lot of old devices, they really do belong in the trash, because, again, when you get into the issues with these frames that are just falling apart, where there's nothing available on the market but used frames that are going to fall apart a month after you install them, I'm not fixing that. That belongs in the trash. That belongs in the garbage. It doesn't belong back out there in the world. We're talking about a 2006, a 2007 machine where the chipset that has burned out is no longer manufactured, and the only way I have of fixing it is digging through a garbage and hoping that somewhere in that dumpster there's another machine that has a working chipset. Me soldering on that 7-year-old chipset, and oh, it dies 6 months later because that chipset had already been used in skullfuck for 6 years prior. That's not repair. That's not something I want to promote. I want to promote the types of repairs where people have confidence in them, where I fixed it and I never see you again, where once I am done refurbishing this, you are going to use it for 2, 4, 6, 10 years to come, and you will be good, where you'll be able to use this product for a long life. I don't want to, I don't want to be dealing with products where I fix it and I know that you're going to be back soon. I want people to have a level of confidence in repair that you don't get to have if you are digging through dumpsters to try to fix all these products. And again, I want you to realize that there are compromises to be made here. The advancement of technology requires a lot of money. It requires a lot of research and development. And that, again, that requires a lot of money. Now, if you want to tie up that money in fabricating chipsets for 5- and 10-year-old products, you're going to see that innovation occurs at a slower pace. And that's a compromise that I'm okay with. Even, again, and I'm speaking here as a repair person. I'm speaking here as somebody who would absolutely love to be able to find X1600 chips new. I'd love to be able to find back covers to certain devices new. I'd love to be able to find MCP 79s and 89s and where I know that they're new and they're going to work, and I don't have to check the resistance between the X-Tal pins and ground to see if it doesn't work before I solder it onto a motherboard. My job would be made a lot easier if I could find all of this new. But I also like being able to use modern products. I also like that the price of a mid-end video card is not $2,000. And if you want companies to be forced to continue creating parts for obsolete devices for years and years to come, you're going to find that they either stop innovating at the pace that they do now, or that their products become incredibly, incredibly expensive in order to compensate for these fabrication plants that they have to keep open that are not profitable. And that's not a compromise that I'm really okay with. So, yeah, that's my stance on these products. I am not a person who's, has this hippie idea of saving the world and saving all the products in the world. The world is fine. Again, the world, I assure you, the world is going to be fine if you stop using a 5-year-old obsolete computer. If I take that Lenovo that I have and toss it in the e-waste every 3 months and buy another one, the world's going to be fine. And as selfish as it sounds, and as crappy as it sounds, I don't have this crying heart for planet Earth, because planet Earth is not always thinking about me. In 2012, when there was a hurricane and people died and my store was out of business for a week and there was no electricity, Earth didn't think, we could have a hurricane or we could not have a hurricane because it would make better the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Earth doesn't say, should we have a tsunami today, or should we not kill all these people on the Asian shore? Earth is not always thinking about me. So I'm not always thinking about the Earth. My client is not the Earth. I am not in service to the Earth. I'm in service to the people who walk through the door who want something fixed. And I am not going to give them solutions that are crappy solutions that are going to result in them not being able to serve their clients just because of the Earth. I'm not going to fix an 8-year-old laptop that is going to result in their presentation crashing when that X1600 GPU dies that cost them a raise, that cost them their job, just for the earth. You know, that's not really who I'm in service to. I'm in service to people who want devices fixed, and I'm here to make sure that consumer confidence in repair and refurbishing stays high by keeping a good standard in repair, which means there are a lot of devices where I will happily say garbage, trash, e-waste, goodbye, without feeling shame, without feeling like I failed because I didn't fix it, without feeling like I've done bad by Mother Earth because I decided to use more of Earth's resources to, encourage them to buy a new device that requires Earth's resources rather than fixing it. And I don't feel bad. I just don't feel bad about that. Now, don't get it wrong. I value having a clean Earth. I want to have a clean planet. I care about the planet being clean for both myself, other people who are on the planet, the people who are going to be on the planet after me. I don't want this to become a dump. I'm not one of those people that's taking their Coca-Cola cans and throwing it out the side of their car. I've had employees who do that. I have friends who do that. I have friends who still do that, and I complain about it every single day. I understand the idea behind not taking bags of garbage and deciding, hey, just because the law says we're supposed to put it right here, I'm going to put it right here, when right here is the entrance of a park. I'm not kidding when I say that the actual garbage collection for one business mandates that they put it right outside of a park meant for children that's about half a mile from my apartment. It is ridiculous. If you are smoking a cigarette, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, I don't want you flicking it and just throwing it down onto the ground where it's just going to burn and we're going to breathe all that crap in, and that little cigarette is just going to sit there. I would actually, if I have a napkin in my pocket, on occasion you'll even see me pick these up and then throw them into the trash after making sure that they're out. Or if I don't have a napkin, you'll see me just step on it. I want the world to be a clean place. Believe it or not, there are people on my block that will actually take their bag of garbage, and because they're too damn lazy to bring it downstairs because there are stairs, they will actually just throw it out their window and hope that it lands in the garbage, and sometimes it hits a spoke and it pops all out. This is all stuff that I frown upon. I want the earth to be a clean place. I want the earth to be a nice place. One of the reasons that I very much don't like New York is because everybody here is just kind of given up on that. It's accepted that you take your bag and you just throw it on the floor because it's so disgusting here already. It's so dirty and grimy and nasty here already that everybody has kind of given up. Even the people who are the types of people that would take trash and pick it up if they saw it and throw it in the garbage, they just kind of feel like it's lost. It's beyond hope. It's kind of like a motherboard that's been to L2 3 times over. It's, why even bother trying to be civil or nice to it? It has no chance. And I'm not saying that is how the planet should operate. I'm not saying that we should all operate saying, screw the earth doesn't care about me, therefore I am just going to throw away everything and I'm going to, take my lead and pour it into the ocean. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that I value the earth here, but I value making sure that customers get back a product that is going to serve their needs here. My client, who I'm in service to, are the end users of the products that I work on. I'm not willing to compromise and put products out there into the world that I know will work like garbage, that I know will fail to serve the people that they are meant to serve, just because I want to save the earth. I am not going to do that. Again, technology exists to serve us, and I exist to keep this technology working for all of you. I don't want people lacking confidence in technology and in repairs and in refurbishing in general just because we go a little too far in trying to repair that which we shouldn't. If we start decreasing consumer confidence in repair by taking this crap that's not meant based on our current model to be repairable, and we continue trying to repair it, what that's going to do is that's going to make consumers say, you know what, I got this thing fixed because I wanted to recycle, I wanted to try to save the earth, I wanted to try to save money, and it died. So the next time this happens, even if it's a simple, easy, fixable problem, I am not going to care. I'm just going to throw it in the trash. And that's not good for anybody. That's not good for the earth, that's not good for the consumer, and that's not good for me. And that's just some of what I want you to think about when you're reading up on this and recycling and green and, caring about the earth and caring about keeping our products in service longer, is that, again, there are compromises to be made everywhere. There are decisions to be made everywhere, and there's a good reason to make these decisions. Again, does a fabrication plant want to stay open where it is going to cost the company millions upon billions of dollars, or do they want to put that money into designing newer processors? Do you want to pay $10,000 for a laptop just so that it can be more sustainable? Do you want to repair something when you know that that product is going to die 3 months after it's done, and you're a business user who depends, your livelihood and your ability to provide for your family depends on this being rock solid? These are all things I want you to think about, regardless of what side you wind up being on in the sustainable technology argument and the repairable technology argument. I want you to at the very least go out there and try to be fully informed and not just follow some of this hippie bullcrap that you read on websites where you're not really hearing the full story and you're not really understanding fully how the technology works, how the technology is created, how the technology is priced, and how the technology is repaired. I want you to be a fully informed user. Whether or not you agree with everything I have to say, whether or not you agree with any of what I have to say, I just want you to think. I want you to have a healthy skepticism for everything that you hear, and I want you to have your brain on at all times.